Hello and welcome to the first episode of AICA Podcast. I am Mihaela Ion, the moderator and the person that initiated this project in AICA, and I'm quite glad that I have this opportunity to present to you all the important personalities working in AICA and working for AICA. And for the first show, I wanted to have an awesome meeting with our president, with our international president, Małgorzata Kaźmierczak, and I think I said the name approximately correctly. And I would like to talk with Małgorzata about AICA and also to talk about the Congress that is going to happen in Romania, to talk about the status of art from her point of view, and also to talk about her projects in art curatorial events, and also to talk about the freedom in art, because this is what Małgorzata is quite keen on, the subject of freedom from art. Małgorzata, thank you very much for this great opportunity to make the podcast, and also thank you very much for this opportunity to have you as the first speaker for AICA Podcast.
Thank you. Hello, and thank you for this initiative, which will make AICA more better known in the world.
Yes, I would like to talk to you about from your point of view, how do you see AICA? And how do you see AICA from your stance as the president of this international association? Because AICA, it's a big international association for art critics, for curators, for managers. And in the last year, you have granted this huge opportunity of you being the president.
Yes, well, AICA is the oldest and the biggest association for arts professionals. It has more or less 62 national sections and also an open section for those who cannot or who don't want to join a national section. And of course, it all depends on the national section or the section itself or the section, because also, of course, taking into account this open one, how active the section or the board, the local board is. So in each country, it's going to mean something different. I think, especially in Eastern Europe, it has a very good history and an ethos. Because AICA was somehow tolerated after the war between its establishment, because it was established in the year 50, and in 89 it was in Poland. At least it was the only international association which was accepted by the government. So. So that's why it has its long history and ethos in this part of the world. And also, there are sources that confirm that it was even the idea of Mojmir Vanek, who is a Czechoslovakian art historian. So we could say that it was born somehow here, even though it was established in Paris. So, but of course, we have a lot of young sections in Africa, sections in Latin America that are much younger, and for them, for these critics there, it may mean something completely different, and they just use AICA, if I can use such a word, in a different way.
Yeah. Thank you very much for all the information. I had no idea that AICA Poland was the only one allowed to exist after the year, and thank you for the information. As my second question is quite a personal one, because I'm quite new in AICA. I'm in the organization for the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. And for me, it was quite an experience, because I was not feeling competent enough to apply for AICA. And in one day, I just took initiative. I wrote down my CV. I wrote to the Romanian National Committee and say, hello, I would like to be a member of AICA, and they accepted me. Do you have any advice for young people, for young curators, for cultural managers, in order for them to have the courage and also to have to take the initiative to be a member of AICA? Because AICA has all sorts of benefits for them.
Well, the only condition that is set up in the statute is that you need to have a continuous experience of 3 years. So it's not a lot, but of course, every national section may have their own detailed conditions. So if someone is not sure if they can join the national section, they can also join the open section, for example, for the beginning. But in general, I think if you feel that you belong to AICA, I think we are still looking for, continuously looking for new members. And those sections where those new members are showing up without being invited are those lucky ones, because usually actually it's a lot of work to attract new members, and some sections really struggle to do this. So Romanian section was lucky to have you.
Thank you very much for saying that, and I'm also happy to be part of the Romanian section and also to be part of the international section also, and to make this podcast. Before we talk about the freedom of arts, before we talk about the Congress that is going to happen in Romania, can you please tell me a little bit about the benefits that each curator, cultural manager, or person being part of AICA can have?
Well, the one that we always laugh about is that every member gets the card, and every year we get a sticker for the current year. After paying the yearly fee, the fee is very low. As of course, it also depends on the section, but it's quite a low fee, and we can, with this card, we can enter museums and in many countries. Not everywhere it's equally easy, but we are working on it. And in most contemporary art museums, you can get either for a discounted price or for free, which is a great benefit. And I think but the biggest benefit, I think, is the international contact that we can have. We have a lot of opportunities to become involved in many international projects. Not everyone is really discovering this quickly. I'm happy that you discovered this, for example. But I think that we have committees that work on webinars, on discussions. We have certain conferences, congresses, etc. So there's a lot of opportunities to participate in this international crowd, to get to know each other, and to work on some international projects, and also sometimes on regional level, because for some time we re-established, because it was actually part of AICA history to have regional sections, like regional secretariats, so regional structures. And we sort of came back to this, and now we have one for Eastern Europe and one for Latin America. So also, if you don't feel like cooperating with the entire world, but you may also have some ideas to collaborate in these smaller regions. So I think all in all, it is a great network, and especially for young people, and especially also in those areas where maybe it's not so easy if you want to get in touch with somebody, if you want to get into the network, and it's not so obvious who to contact, how to find people. It is also the source of the greatest information, the best information, who is worth contacting, where, how, when, and so on. And this is, for example, how I traveled a year ago, and this year also through South America. If not for AICA, I would have been completely lost because I used these contacts, and it was a great experience. So I have that experience, and I'm sure that for anybody else it would have been the same.
And tell me, from your experience, for any member of AICA, it can be possible for them to contact each member that are wrote down on the website and just send them an email and tell, I'm going to come to your country and I would like to visit your museum, your gallery. From your point of view, it's a good point of starting a collaboration?
I'm sure it works like this. I mean, I use that also. So I think that of course it can be a good directory of contacts. But even contacting, of course, not everybody is equally responsive, and of course we cannot guarantee that each member is going to respond. But in general, I think the boards, the presidents, the secretary generals, and these people are also, I think, in general, very responsive and helpful. So I'm sure this is a good way. And if not, also even I respond to many emails from many people that just don't know who to contact, and they just contact AICA office. So, so it's not that we are a huge association, but it doesn't mean that we are inaccessible. We are trying to accommodate everyone, and we are just trying to be together in this, because we are not, so many in the art world after all, and we have to help each other. So yeah, I think it is a good place to network. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yes, you told that we are not so many in this art world, and I think you're right. And I would like to talk to you about the Congress that is going to happen in Romania, because a lot of members of AICA are going to gather in November in Bucharest for the Congress. And if you can tell me in small phrases what's going to happen at the Congress, if somebody else not being a member of AICA can participate at the Congress that is going to happen in Bucharest and Iași also.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to be a meeting for the members as usual. It's a tradition that we have our General Assembly during the Congress, or at least one part of it. But it is also a tradition that we have as part a symposium part, and this is going to be open to the public. This is our rule now. Also, we try to be socially useful, and always the proceedings are open to the public. There also, if we manage, they will probably also be transmitted online, like last year in Krakow. We managed to do this, so it's the whole Congress is available on YouTube, yes, so we are going to have this proceedings. Part of it, part of the speakers were selected in an open call, and they are probably majority are AICA members, but not all. This is also something that we just typically do, that we are not limiting ourselves to our members. And there's also going to be three keynote speakers whose names are a secret yet. Yes, and of course, AICA members, the participants, those who are going to come, they're going to also participate in some cultural program. They're going to see museums and galleries. They're going to meet curators, artists, and so on, because this is also the idea of the Congress.
Yeah. Thank you very much for all the information. I think I'm going to do also an episode about the Congress, and I'm going to do some follow-ups about what the communications are going to be about in the Congress. So for everybody that is listening to this podcast, be aware that an episode about the Congress that is going to happen in Romania is going to happen also about all the key speakers, all the speakers, and all the information that we are going to talk about in the Congress. I found out from your CV that you are quite keen on the topic of freedom in arts, and I would like to ask you, how did you came to this idea of promoting freedom in arts, of promoting how not to be censorship in art, how to to have this freedom of expression, Is it coming from our history of being a part of former communist parties and countries?
Well, I started to be interested in this topic when I became a director of a gallery, because from very beginning, I started to feel this breath of authorities behind my back. And actually, I was lucky because my friend who actually called me today published a book about the censorship in arts in Poland after 89. So it was actually the times after the 89, not before, that inspired me. And I have to say that I read his book. This book was he published with his wife, who is a lawyer. So the first volume is about the situation in Europe, mostly in European countries. And the second volume was like the catalog of the cases of censorship in Poland between 89 and 2012. And I have to say that I remembered a lot of these cases. It was this famous case of Danuta Nieznalska. It was many others. And I read this book like a criminal, like a crime story. So then I met Jakub Dobrowski, the author of this book, and I could relate to this book a lot. And also then I actually dropped because the government changed in Poland during my being there as a director of the gallery. And as soon as it changed, I started to feel the censorship more and more, and I finally dropped my position because of the pretty drastic attempt yet of censorship. I changed my career then completely. I went to work at the Academy of Fine Arts in Szczecin first, and now I work in Kraków. And I started to think about it more and more. And then in Poland, it was pretty obvious that we have between 2015 and the last year, we had more and more cases of censorship. And that's why I started to be interested in it. I started to document it. I started to make reports about it. Then this report that I actually made for AICA, I co-made with my friends. We made one report that was published in AICA website. Then it was found by many organizations who were writing reports about their reports about censorship. So then I participated in workshops that were organized by the Council of Europe in Ljubljana. And then these workshops especially gave me some broader perspective, because in the beginning I was thinking that, I had this local perspective of that we have, our situation is the worst, and maybe, okay, Hungarians also are quite similar, but that, nobody else knows, especially in Europe, nobody else knows more than we do. But then I slowly started to look at it in broader terms, that actually it is not the thing that it depends on governments so much. Of course, it does depend on governments, but they change, but censorship remains. Yeah, and then if we stop fighting for the freedom of expression, then it's very easy to take it away from us, and that's why it just became one of my favorite topics.
Yeah, thank you very much for all your answer, because it's quite full, and I find myself in similar situation, because at one point I was thinking about changing my career, because I was not having the freedom of expressing my ideas, of expressing my topics related to contemporary art. But I learned that this is a normal way of arts, because at one point, each curator, each art commentator, each art critic will have this situation when his or her freedom of expression is going to be put in the line. And I would like to ask you what changed for you when you have been in this situation, because you told me you changed your career. It was difficult for you to do this step. It was difficult for you to not be the director of the gallery and to have a new career path.
No, it was an intuitive decision, and it was actually very spontaneous. But I completely don't regret it. I think that was actually a good decision. But I also think that we should know how to react to this kind of situations in order to not to blame ourselves too much, because I think I compared in one of the of these reports of Council of Europe the censorship situation like a toxic relationship, that sometimes you think that maybe actually it's you who is wrong, no, like it's like you start doubting yourself. So you need then someone who would tell you, no, like the truth is somewhere else. Like it's you, like you do good, and this is somebody who's trying to take this away from you. And of course, we are under the constant selection process. You know, like it's sometimes very difficult to prove that something is censorship. Maybe this project wasn't good enough. You know, like you start to question yourself. And sometimes it's also very difficult to prove that it really was censorship. So that's why we are working on it. We signed an alliance with an organization called Free Muse, that is an organization of people who also work under the affiliation of with the affiliation of UNESCO, like us, and they focus on the freedom of expression. They publish yearly reports and take actions if it's possible, especially in the UN. And we started to work together on various projects. But in one of these projects is preparing a toolkit for curators, for art critics, for artists, for anyone who works in culture. With definitions, what is what, yeah, like how to spot a censor, you know, how to defend yourself, what are the international organizations that can help you, because of course we are talking, like I said, you know, like I was thinking that you know, like censorship is the only the something that exists in countries that are regimes, but it's not true, because the censorship can also be under in a form of discrimination, and this exists everywhere. Of course, we have cancel culture, we have political correctness, we have a lot of other issues that exist in the whole world. So how to react to this, and how to know that you are being censored, even, and what is the ideal of the collaboration between curators and directors and artists, and so on and so on. For this, I think we need to educate ourselves, and so we would like to publish this toolkit. That's one thing, and this is a project that is pretty serious. We need some time for that. And also, I'm hoping to organize a series of webinars and like some kind of workshops for, especially for curators and critics, and also maybe art history teachers and other actors of this world, especially those who work internationally, because sometimes you can mistake censorship with some kind of cultural difference. You know, sometimes you just may be lost in this world, and I think this is very welcome. That would be very welcome, not only to talk about the cases. Of course, reporting the cases of censorship is important also for the history, but for the record. But I think also just talking on how to defend, how to react, and also how others should react when they see something like this. Because, well, it happened to me, for example, that somebody censored my text. Actually, it happened to me only once, luckily. But then it was actually a great experience that another critic who was going to write for the same catalog, when he got to know about it, he said, like, okay, so I'm withdrawing my text too. I don't want to be part of a censored publication. Yeah, so the solidarity just is a weapon, because finally they didn't publish that catalog because we all withdrew the text, and artists do that sometimes with exhibitions. Yeah, as a sign of solidarity with their colleagues, they also withdraw their works. So this kind of positive examples of like resistance and self-defense, I think we should show it as a good example in order not to feel helpless. So this is the idea, and this is the way AICA can also help sometimes.
Yes, for sure. And all the things that you said, I think some people that are listening to our podcast have been in the same situation, have been in the same situation of being censorship, of being felt it is their blame that this was happening to them and to their text, to their curatorial exhibition, and also to their artworks. For my last question, because time is quite running out, how can, except for the toolkit, except for all the materials that individuals can read about how they can preserve their freedom of freedom in art and freedom of expression in art criticism, what can they do? They can talk to a person, to a mentor maybe. They can talk to AICA also. And also, what can they do in order for them to feel happy that they've done everything that they can do in order for them to have their all their experience being preserved?
Well, it depends, of course, what conditions they are working under. Yes, because there are sometimes situations that you can be put into jail, and then you cannot do a lot. And in some countries, you can just complain, and you can just contact AICA. For sure, I would start with contacting some organization like AICA, and our freedom of expression committee acts really well, and we are collecting cases, and we try, if these cases start to build some kind of rule, that they're trying to, that it becomes some kind of policy, then we even try to protest using our contacts in the United Nations, for example. Sometimes in the Council of Europe, in the European Commission. It depends on the case, of course. Sometimes in local governments as well. And this is something that is important because sometimes when it happens, it's not going to help that you're going to protest. But after a while, it may actually be an important record, because it can be used as an argument. Like it happened in Poland, for example, that when after, like I told you, we published a report on censorship in Poland, and after the government changed, this report started to become an argument for the new government. They started to look at it, and they read it, and they were absolutely terrified. Yeah, what was happening in some institutions, and it became a document, a useful document. So one has to record these cases. One has to protest. Contacting AICA is the simplest possible step, and then if we see some kind of other way that someone can take, then we would direct this person, and I think I would of course recommend that in the first place, and I think well, like I said, it all depends what kind of circumstances we are talking about, because sometimes maybe it may be dangerous for the person. Sometimes it just requires some negotiation. There are no two equal cases here.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much for your all your input about the freedom in arts and art criticism, and also for all your information about AICA and about what AICA can do for art critics, curator, even if they are at the beginning of their career, if they are struggling with finding their voice, if they're struggling with finding their freedom of expression. It was quite an amazing discussion about AICA, about freedom of expression, and thank you very much for this great opportunity to do this first episode of the podcast with you. And I'm looking forward to see you all. To see you, first of all, Małgorzata in Bucharest at the Congress of AICA, and also to see everybody in Bucharest for the Congress that is going to happen in November. And of course, we are going to see me as a moderator for this podcast in the next episode, talking about with art curators, with cultural managers, talking about with artists and talking about AICA, their projects, and everything that is happening at the moment in the contemporary art domain. Thank you very much for listening to our podcast. Thank you very much for being part of this art world, and looking forward to listening to you and listening to your opinion about art, and looking forward to see you next time. So have a lovely day or night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.